Hey everyone, I'm Nico from Licks of the Beast, and in this video we're gonna break down one of my very favorite classic Iron Maiden songs, Infinite Dreams. Infinite Dreams is the second song on the band's 1988 masterpiece, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. And what makes it so special is that it contains all of the ingredients for a perfect Iron Maiden song. A dreamy intro, a very strong build-up, staccato riffs, flowing riffs, guitar harmonies, mind-blowing vocals, a powerful rhythm section, and two excellent guitar solos that complement one another perfectly. This song is a masterclass in how to write a piece of music with storytelling in mind. It's like a journey into the mind of the album's protagonist, the seventh son of a seventh son, as his dreams become ever more intense until they become nightmares so horrifying that he's both afraid to sleep and afraid to be awake. The way they set the mood and how the intensity just builds gradually along with the lyrics is just phenomenal. So with all of that in mind, let's get to the song part by part. The hauntingly beautiful intro has the bass and two rhythm guitars, each playing a similar but slightly different pattern with a relaxed percussive drum beat in the background. One guitar goes like this. And the other guitar is playing something more like this. And the bass is doing something like this. The melody is played by Adrian Smith first. And then Dave Murray comes in with the same melody a fourth higher. Now it's not completely in parallel fourths, which makes it sound smoother and more relaxed. It's a tricky lick to get just right, but a key point to making it sound closer to what you hear on the album is to make sure the intonation of your bends is spot on, and not to apply the vibrato on the held bend right away, but to wait a beat first so that it feels smooth and laid back. The first half of the verse features some really great interplay between Dave and Adrian, as they each take a different approach to the basic rhythm. Adrian's is a bit more straightforward and is played with a stiffer, snappier feel, something like this. Dave, on the other hand, plays this part with a looser, more flowy vibe and incorporates some really cool Jimi Hendrix style licks, a bit like those found on Little Wing, so something more like this. There's a cool little detail here in the second tail. Every time they play it, they play the ending a fourth apart, as Adrian plays A, G, and E, and Dave plays E, D, and B. These are little details you don't really notice in an obvious way, as they go by quickly and the lower part doesn't stand out quite as much compared to the higher part that Adrian plays along with the bass, which is very present in the mix. But it does add texture, and that's more of a thing you can feel, even if it doesn't really stand out to your ears. From there, the mood changes as they move from a relaxed feel with clean tones to a heavy feel with a high gain sound. Now, Adrian's part here is very tight. It's very important to play the first tail here with downstrokes, again to keep it sounding as tight as possible. I find it doesn't sound quite right with alternate picking. Dave's part starts off similar, like this. But then moves to a harmony in thirds using octave chords to make the part grow in intensity a little bit as we progress to the next section. The next part could be considered the chorus or the hook of the song, and it's a very simple 1 flat 6 flat 7 chord progression that moves from the key of E minor up to the key of G minor, which is a great way to make a part sound more dramatic, especially with a theatrical vocal line delivered as passionately as Bruce does. Dave plays the 1 chord as a power chord and the other 2 as sus2 chords, pausing on the flat 7 chord, like this. Adrian plays all 3 chords as straight power chords, and instead of pausing on the flat 7 chord, he doubles Steve's bass fill, like this. Again, this fill sounds best with all downstrokes for a tighter and more choppy kind of feel. The next part is where things start to really pick up, and it's one of my favorite Iron Maiden moments of all time. It's an interlude of sorts, and it starts off with both guitars playing very similar lines, only Adrian plays it like this. And Dave plays it like this. So Adrian goes back to the root note of each implied chord, E, C, and D, and Dave always goes back to the F sharp note instead. Again, this is not something you hear in a very obvious way, but it creates a constant dissonance over the E and C chords, a major second and a tritone respectively, and is only consonant as a minor third interval over the D chord. This creates a constant tension, which is really important in this part of the song. In the second half of this section, things get even more tense as the drums and bass play a kind of march rhythm together, and Dave plays a harmony line a third higher with a similar rhythm. This sounds absolutely grandiose, as the build-up here is so powerful, you know there has to be a big release at any moment. And in fact, when it does come after Nickel's snare roll, it's huge, with Bruce letting out a scream that is absolutely bone-chilling. And that's not hyperbole. This is something that really distinguishes Bruce from many other singers in this genre, because at this point in the song, the protagonist wakes up screaming from a nightmare, so Bruce doesn't perform a beautiful scream in an operatic fashion. He actually screams, and the effect is infinitely more powerful. The guitar parts here are fairly simple, with Dave playing mostly triplets throughout. And Adrian is playing a more staggered rhythm in contrast, so as to give the part a little more texture. The next riff is really cool because of the way they use octaves to give it a feel of stumbling or sort of tripping over one's own feet. So it's like falling and then recovering, and then falling again and recovering. Then once again Dave plays triplets. And Adrian adds a more staggered rhythm. The next part is a really cool descending riff that serves as a connecting bridge to the next section. It descends diatonically in G Mixolydian from the F note all the way down to G. So it's as simple as it gets, but it's the rhythm and where in the song this part is positioned that makes it so cool. And also the arrangement, where Adrian plays a mix of power chords and single notes like this. And Dave plays the descending pattern as single notes an octave higher, and he adds a nice little natural harmonic with a dive at the end. Now, what comes next is a guitar harmony that is nothing short of magnificent. The bass is playing the root notes E, C, and D with an intense rhythm along with the drums and a synth pad for added texture. And on top of that, you have Adrian playing this melody. And Dave playing it a sixth higher, like this. The result of everything together is something that is absolutely dreamy. Now next, there's a short bridge before the guitar solos with a key change to F sharp minor. This adds a little tension after we've been lulled into a comfortable, dreamy state by that harmony, and it releases with the dive bomb before Dave's solo. The rhythm part for the solos is really cool. It's got a bit of a funky rhythm that is actually a lot of fun to play. It starts off in E minor for Dave's solo. And then it moves up to F sharp minor for Adrian's solo. A neat little bit of arranging here is how they change the accented chord from the third to the fourth chord when they play the riff in F sharp. If they had kept it the same, it would have been like this. Instead, they're doing this. Which gives more the feeling of rushing forward. Once again, this is probably not something most listeners' ears will pick up, but it's definitely something that is felt. For Dave's solo, I love how he ascends after the previous descending lick. Adrian's solo also features a really neat run that descends and ascends immediately after. And the way he reverses direction by starting the ascending part a fifth down from the last note of the descending run makes it feel so seamless. It's just brilliant. From there we go back to the beautiful harmony section, and then it slows back down to the chorus to end the song. I've always loved the ending of this song because of how it captures the state of mind of the protagonist at this point in the story. He's struggling with the idea of mortality, and he's saying how he'd like to have another shot at life after this one, and then another one after that, and another one after that. If you follow the lyrics and the rising pitch of the chords and melody, it almost feels like this guy's kind of having an anxiety attack. He's off on a tangent, and when it's done, he crashes on that last note as it dies down. And Bruce, he does a phenomenal job by holding that last consonant, that N of the word again, until he's practically out of breath. And that's it for this video. I know this was a bit of a long one, but as always, I really hope you enjoyed it and that it was both informative and entertaining. Let me know in the comments which song you'd like me to break down in the future, as I do intend to make a lot more videos like this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and stay tuned for more licks of the beast.